Hi, this is Fern G. Carr, website www.ferngzcarr.com. Welcome to my Facebook Live reading, Birds, Art, Part 1, Birds.
Hello, and if you've just tuned in, I'm Fern G. Carr, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you here on Facebook Live. I would welcome you. Thank you for tuning in. As I say, I want to be sure to thank the League of Canadian Poets and the Canada Council for the Arts for their sponsorship. Very much appreciated. And also a thank you to Meta for providing this service on Facebook Live. So, as I mentioned last week, um, I used to doing in-person readings. So this is a little bit different. I don't have anyone here to introduce me, so I'm just introducing myself. I'll give you a quick bit of information about me. And if you want more information, you can go to my Wikipedia page, just under Fern G. Carr. And my website is www.ferngzcarr.com. I also have a YouTube channel if you'd like to see more videos of my work. That's just under Fern G. Carr once you're on YouTube. So I'm a full member of the League of Canadian Poets and a member of the Federation of BC Writers. I write and translate my poetry in 6 languages, but these readings are going to be in English. My poetry collection is called Shards of Crystal. It's published by Silver Bow Publishing. And I've been published about 700 times worldwide, but I'm very grateful for the honors I've received. But as I mentioned before, my absolute favorite honor is the fact that I have one of my poems in permanent orbit on NASA's MAVEN spacecraft orbiting around the planet Mars. So if you want to talk about a really great publication credit, that one's it. So if you happen to be joining me though for the first time this week, this is part 2 of 4 themed poetry readings, and I present them every Saturday in May, and I do 2 themes per reading. So this week's themes are birds and art, and I'm going to be reading for about 20 minutes, and then I would ask that if you have any questions or comments that you please type them in the comments section, and I would be happy to answer them after I finish my reading. Okay, so the first theme, birds. Um, Scientists say that birds evolved from dinosaurs. So for the most part, birds are definitely not as scary as dinosaurs, but they all have their unique personalities and abilities, and they're pretty intriguing for miniature dinosaurs. So I'm going to start with a poem called Quail Outside My Window. And I wrote this poem in conjunction with an animal fundraiser, animal welfare fundraiser. And it's a true story about this quail who liked to wake me up every morning. Quail outside my window. A California quail perches on the white chain link fence outside my bedroom window daily at dawn to proclaim his territory in dactylic chant. His apostrophe-like crown feather bobbing with enthusiasm. Fluttering to the ground, he guides his pudgy brood in a Chaplin-esque version of Follow the Leader. A covey of feathered marshmallows scurrying on little birdie feet. Delicacies for Willie, the neighborhood cat, who is quick to appreciate the value of an imported gourmet meal. Now, despite a bird's ability to fly, and I mean, that is obviously phenomenal, it's something that humans have always aspired to, birds are still vulnerable, and that is portrayed in this poem, Convergence. The intersection of a pane of sun and cloud with a faint clink of hollow bones. Bewildered black eyes, beak tipped with a droplet of scarlet. Rattled, numbed, a grounding paralysis, felling feathers that once graced azure skies. A grounding paralysis and a fuzzy awareness of the muffled patter of mittened paws. Well, duckling is another example of vulnerability, or it's also evidentiary of survival of the fittest. This is another true story. My husband and I were going for a walk, and we actually witnessed this. It was very surreal. Duckling. Condos tower over a wetland sanctuary where painted turtles sun themselves on flat rocks. Dragonfly helicopters dart among the reeds, red-winged blackbirds alight, swaying in the breeze. Damselflies skim the water for mosquito larvae and daphnia. Canada geese waddle imperiously along paths next to the water, glaring at passers-by. Mallard drakes submerge their emerald green heads, searching for minnows and algae, their feathered bottoms bobbing upright above the water. A female mallard glides along the surface, leaving a triangular wake of ripples that jostles her already imprinted brood of downy ducklings swimming to the shore, where she starts to peck at the runt, grabbing it by its nape with her bill and forcing its fuzzy head under water again and again. Despite the squawking of another female balancing diagonally on webbed feet, flapping her wings in desperate protest against this infanticide. An act so surreal that before it can even register in the minds of bystanders as more than spunky maternal discipline, the duckling floats, limp, on the water. Okay, An Owl in Paris. This is a poem actually about an ornament I bought while I was on vacation. It's a cute little owl, just a tiny little thing. But I realized that something was rattling inside of it. And I figure maybe it's probably a chipped piece of ceramic, something like that. But then my imagination got the best of me, so I wrote this poem. An Owl in Paris. Looming over cobbled streets, haughty stone buildings looking askance at pedestrians, forced to walk single file along narrow sidewalks. Masonry on either side boasts antiquaire, fleuriste, and a consignment store, its windows brimming with vintage treasures long forsaken by their owners. Perched on a ledge, a cloisonné owl peers out the window, waiting for someone to notice his teal feathers. Fumbling with my change purse, I decided to give him a home. My little avian charge was a puzzlement, though. Whenever I picked him up, he clinked as though his head had swallowed stones that rattled inside his hollow body. Jostled in transit, he probably splintered a few copper ribs, but I think otherwise. During the war, spies facing capture stashed loose diamonds inside his enamel interior, a safe cache for their loot. Although they never returned, the raptor came home to roost with a secret concealed inside his belly. A secret never to be discovered, because no one would ever dare harm such a delicate piece of art. A prized find in an obscure shop, tucked away in a Parisian alley. Okay, Shoebox Coffin is a poem about the first time someone finds a dead bird. Shoebox Coffin. Outstretched wings, limp, eyeless body, ravaged by tenacious wasps and buzzing flies. A race to the shed for pitchfork, shears, gardening gloves, undertaker's tools, in a hidden corner of the yard where a globe cedar's stubborn roots tangle in dried mud, and the unyielding earth yearns for spongy comfort. Hands cradle a dead animal for the first time as they lower it into its tissue-lined shoebox coffin and cover it with a neat heap of potting soil, adorned by a yellow sprig of potentilla. a respectful goodbye. Sentinels in the fog. I happened to be looking out the window and I saw the view that I'm describing in this poem. Sentinels in the fog. Perched upon high, they are sentinels in the fog, scrutinizing the somber cloud with wizened eyes, as though waiting for some portent in the chill mist, while the wind ruffles their tired gray feathers. Blinking for only a moment, they observe those below, those seeking refuge, blindly fleeing the elements, unaware of the sentries dutifully performing their watch in the raw cold. Peering down from rooftops, 7 gulls, lined up in a row, some poised on one leg, stand guard, and then fly away into obscurity.
Acknowledgements. All poems contained herein copyright Fern G. Carr. Part 1 is an excerpt from the original full video, which was kindly sponsored by the League of Canadian Poets and the Canada Council for the Arts. Thanks very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like and please be sure to subscribe. For more poetry, my book Shards of Crystal is available on Amazon. Thanks again and stay tuned for a new video every Wednesday.